My name is Dr Michelle Dickinson. I've learnt that breaking things down is the easiest way to understand them. So join me. We'll break down scientific concepts, meet some amazing scientists and inventors, and help you discover the world around you.
I'm Dr Michelle Dickinson, and today we are going to be talking about plants. Plants are a crucial part of life on Earth. Without plants, life as we know it would not even exist. Plants come in so many different sizes and shapes, and they live in such a wide variety of habitats that it's incredibly hard to say that all plants do one particular thing. So today we're going to be talking about features which are common to most types of plants that we know. By the end of today's episode, you will learn the structure of a plant, you will learn how plants grow, and how plants are what we call primary producers, which means that they can make their own food from sunlight. We'll do an experiment together to show how plants transport water from their roots, through their cells, to their leaves. And to do the experiment at home with me, you will need a sheet of paper towel, 2 different colours of food colouring, or maybe some squash or some cordial, 3 glasses, some water, and of course, don't forget your notebook and pen so you can write down your observations. If you haven't got those things to hand, go grab them now. A bit later in the show, I'll be checking in with one of my science helpers who'll be joining us from home, as well as speaking to one of my science friends who'll be able to tell us even more amazing things about their research into the science of plants. Okay, let's get started. Plants are what we call primary producers. This is because, unlike us and other animals, plants produce their own food through the process of something called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a chemical reaction that occurs in the leaves of plants where they use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide from the air to produce sugars and oxygen. Imagine instead of having to make a sandwich for lunch, you could instead just lie outside in the sun. Well, that's what plants do. Sunlight comes from the sun, and carbon dioxide comes from the air around the leaves. Those are easy. However, the water that plants need for photosynthesis has to travel up from the soil surrounding the roots, all the way up the plant to the leaves at the top of the plant. In the case of some trees, this distance can be over 50 meters high. Today, we're going to focus on vascular plants, which are plants that move water, minerals, and sugars around their body using special vascular tissue. Humans have a beating heart, which circulates blood around our body through veins, arteries, and capillaries, which we use to move water and food around our bodies. What do plants do? We know if we cut a plant open, that it won't bleed. Instead, vascular plants have a xylem and a phloem to do the transport job. Xylem are the vascular tissues that take water and nutrients upwards from the roots towards the leaves to be used in photosynthesis. And phloem are the tissues that take the sugars and other substances away from the leaves after being made by photosynthesis. Before we look at the structures on the inside of a plant, let's think about the structures on the outside of vascular plants. You can divide a plant neatly into 2, the part below the ground, which we call the roots, and the parts above the ground, which include the stem or trunk, branches, leaves, and the reproductive structures such as the flowers and the fruits. Although we don't get to see them much, the root system of a plant is incredibly important. Roots anchor the plant into the ground, and they're also responsible for sucking water up from the soil and into the plant itself. If you look closely at a root, you'll see tiny hairs on them, which give them a larger surface area over which they can absorb water and minerals. Once absorbed, the water is then transported from the roots up the stem or trunk into the branches and leaves by the xylem. Some plants, like trees, are incredibly tall, so the physical act of getting water from their roots all the way up to their leaves, which could be over 100 meters away, is a real feat. What is even more amazing is that this is done passively, meaning there's no physical pump or special water elevator to help carry the water up. Instead, it's done through a process known as capillary action, which we will talk about later, as well as pressure and osmotic gradients. The phloem, which is the other part of the plant's vascular system, takes the sugars that are produced by photosynthesis and transports them around the rest of the plant. In order to turn carbon dioxide into sugar through photosynthesis, the leaf must open up its stomata, which are tiny pores on the surface of the leaf, so that carbon dioxide can diffuse into the leaf. However, when it does this, the leaf then starts to lose water through evaporation from these tiny openings. This water loss is called transpiration and creates tension or negative pressure in the water in the xylem. Water then moves up through the plant to replace the water lost through transpiration. This creates a pressure gradient that pulls water up through the plant from the soil. You may have created a pressure gradient through a vessel before, if you've ever used a straw. As you suck air up through the straw, you create enough pressure to move the water up against gravity. Now, plants can do this without needing cheeks to suck at the top. You can get an idea of what the xylem and the phloem look like in the roots of a plant by cutting a cross-section of a carrot. The carrot that we eat is the root of the plant. And if you look very carefully, and if your carrot hasn't been scrubbed too hard, you can see that it has root hairs. The darker area in the middle of the carrot is the xylem, which moves the water up, and the part around that is the phloem. Now we've had the chance to look at the xylem, let's do an experiment to demonstrate how water moves through a plant. Hi Amilie, how are you?
Good, how are you, Michelle?
I am so good. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you heard the word transpiration before?
No, I have not heard transpiration before.
And there's another expression. Have you heard capillary action?
No, I have not.
Perfect. Well, we are going to be doing an experiment to learn all about those words today. Do you have in front of you 3 glasses, a paper towel, and some food colouring?
Yes, I do.
Easy peasy, let's get started. Okay, so put the glasses in front of you in a line like this.
Okay, I have that.
Perfect. And then take your paper towel and fold it in half. And then if you've got some scissors, can you cut up the middle? If you don't, you can just tear it.
There we go.
Take one half of the sheets of paper, you're going to fold it in half lengthways. And then fold it in half the other way, which is going to give you a shape like this. And you're going to bridge it against your 2 glasses. So put one end in each glass, just like that. And then do the same with your other one. Next, you're going to take your food colouring. What colours do you have there?
I have yellow and pink.
Yellow and pink. I have yellow and blue. So take your pink one, I'll take my blue one, and I want you to put a couple of drops in the bottom of one of your end glasses, trying not to get it on your paper towel. So you might need your paper towel to move over a little bit. Put some drops in the bottom. Now with your other colour, your yellow, you're going to do the same thing, but put it in the glass on the other side. So if you've put it in one end, put it in the opposite side again. Move your paper towel over.
Okay, how's that?
Okay, now pour some water into your outside glass. I'm going to fill mine halfway.
Let's pour in a bit more, just in case. There you go.
And your middle one should be empty of water. Is your middle glass empty?
Yes, empty.
Okay, now take a look closely at your paper towel. And can you see if any of the water has left your glass and is touching the paper towel?
It is.
And can you see it slowly starting to move up?
Yeah.
This is where capillary action comes into play. So paper towels are made out of wood. And so what happens is we chop up the wood from the trees and we mix it together. And the ingredient that wood is made out of is something called cellulose. And so cellulose is a plant material. You'll find it inside the stalks of plants. And that's what we actually make paper towels from. So you're seeing paper towels, but actually you're seeing what is the inside of plants as well that have all been shredded together. Now, plants drink water by bringing their roots down to the ground and using capillary action to bring the water all the way up to their leaves. You're seeing pretty much the same thing happening here. because your paper towels are made from a plant. So what it's doing is it's sticking to the plant material in your paper towel and sticking to itself, which is how it can actually overcome gravity by itself. All right, Amilie, we've left them for a little bit. Tell me what's happened to your middle glass.
It's actually filled up with orange kind of water.
So mine, I had blue and I had yellow, and my mixture looks green. So what's really cool about this is the water has moved up against gravity without a pump or an elevator or anything else because of the power of the cellulose in the plants and this capillary action. And it's been able to go over the top and back down and mix together. And this is why trees that are really, really tall are able to drink or get their water from their roots all the way to the tops of their leaves, which can be 50 or even 100 meters away. I think it's quite pretty. What do you think?
I think it's really pretty.
Well, Amilie, thank you so much for helping me with this transpiration experiment today, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for teaching me.
No worries. See you next time.
Bye.
Okay, after any experiment, we need to write down our observations. These help us to understand our results and make interesting predictions for our next experiments. So, today, our observations were that the coloured water moved upwards against gravity without a pump, and that the water moved from the outside glasses through to the middle glass. Now, when we look at our observations and reflect on them and ask questions about why something happened or how we might make it happen again, we're really starting to understand the science behind it. For example, what would happen if we put water in all 3 glasses? Do you think any of the water would move between the different glasses? And if so, why? How do you think you could test this theory with a real plant or flower instead of using a paper towel? What if you put some food colouring in with your plant? Do you think it would still live? Why didn't you try it? Okay, now we have a little bit more understanding about how plants absorb water. We're going to talk to somebody who studies droughts and the impacts of droughts on plants. Cate Macinnis-Ng is a plant biologist who works in the beautiful kauri forest of Aotearoa. Cate and her team explore how climate change influences plants. They measure how much water plants use and how much carbon plants store under different environmental conditions. Hi Cate, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Michelle. How are you?
I am great. Can you just introduce yourself for me, please?
My name's Cate Macinnis-Ng. I'm Associate Professor and Rutherford Discovery Fellow here at the University of Auckland. I work in the School of Biological Sciences, and I'm also part of Te Punaha Matatini, which is the Centre for Research Excellence in Complex Systems.
Let's start at the beginning. Did you love science when you were a child?
Yeah, I did. Both of my parents are science teachers, so I think I was always going to love science, and it was sort of something that was always been in my blood.
And can you tell me a little bit about your job?
So I do all kinds of different things here. I mostly focus on research, and I'm really interested in plants and how plants interact with environmental conditions. So when we think about things like climate change, they're really going to affect plants, how fast they grow and how much water they use and that kind of thing.
And what is the coolest thing about your job?
My favourite thing to do is climb trees. So we get out in the field and climb the trees and do measurements on the leaves. For many years, I just got my students to do the climbing because I thought I was afraid of heights, so I didn't do it. And then I thought, I'm going to try this out one day. And I loved it, and I wasn't afraid of heights at all.
So I've seen some footage of you climbing trees. And when you say climbing trees, you're talking big trees, right?
Yeah, so we get sort of 20 metres or more up in the air. We definitely have to do it as a team. And we get professional climbers to help us out because obviously there's lots of health and safety issues around climbing big trees. And so they help us with the climbing, and then we operate the equipment, which is things like this.
What is that?
So this is a leaf gas exchange system. And what it helps us do, I know you've been talking a bit about transpiration, so it helps us measure how much water is coming out of leaves. So we can actually measure and quantify the amount of transpiration coming out of leaves. And what we do is we take a leaf like this. So if you imagine I'm up in a tree, we grab our leaf like this, and then we pop this chamber over the top, and it closes like this around the leaf. So you can see the little window there that's got the leaf inside it. Now this instrument is attached up to, I'll kind of see if I can show you, it's a computer and a whole other processing unit. And what we're measuring here in the chamber is some of the gases that come into and out of leaves. So the gases are the carbon dioxide and also water. And so by measuring carbon dioxide and water, we can work out the rate of photosynthesis and also the rate of transpiration coming out of the leaves. So when we're ready to go, we've got a little button here that we can press to take the measurement, and then we can do that, and then we can go on to the next leaf.
That's amazing. And so you do that at the top of a tree?
Yes. So it's quite awkward when you're in the tree trying to manage all the equipment and make sure you're all tied on properly and things and reaching out to the leaves, but it's lots of fun.
What do you enjoy most about what you do?
I think I just really love being out in the forest. I've always enjoyed being outdoors and in the forest, and I think that's really what got me into this type of science. I was always going to do science, but doing botany lets you be outside a lot.
So, Cate, can you tell me a little bit more about your work with Te Punaha Matatini?
So Te Punaha Matatini is the Centre for Research Excellence in Complex Systems. So research excellence centres are all about bringing together some of the best researchers from around the country to work on some common things. There's not many plant biologists in TPM, I don't think. I think I might be the only one. So there's people working in social sciences, lots of mathematicians and physicists, people working in economics. It's all kinds of different people, and it's quite rare to have so many different types of specialists coming together. And that's what I really love about TPM, because it's an opportunity to work with all sorts of different people.
And so if there's a budding scientist out there now who's really interested in studying plants or doing something, what should they do? Go grow something in their garden, or what do you advise that they do?
Oh, yeah, grow things if you want to, or get out into the forest and just have a look at what's around. I mean, there's so many different things you can learn about plants, even just understanding the different plants that there are, having a look at the different growth forms, because there's so many different, it's trees, but there's tiny little plants. I'd say just get out there and have a look. But also botanic gardens are a great place to go. So do go and talk to your local botanic gardens.
I love it. Cate, thank you so much for your time today. It's been so interesting. So we've learned a lot about plants today. We've talked a bit about plants being primary producers, which means that they make their own energy through photosynthesis. But what about the energy that we can get from plants? While we know that eating fruits and vegetables can give us energy and essential vitamins and nutrients, my favourite energy source from plants goes really well with pancakes. And that is this: maple syrup. Sugar maple trees are beautiful tall trees that use mineral nutrients from the soil along with sugars stored in the roots and stems and dissolve them into water. This sugary liquid mixture rises from the roots to the leaves in the xylem. We can tap this maple sap when the temperature range is just right. This is when the temperature is slightly above freezing, or 0 degrees centigrade in the day, and at night just below freezing. This creates a freeze-thaw cycle where the water in the tree freezes and defrosts, which creates alternating positive then negative pressure in the xylem. Once collected, the sticky sap is then heated up to boil off most of its water content. At 98% water, this can take a lot of time, and care needs to be taken to make sure that either crystallization happens or crystallization doesn't happen, depending on what your end product is going to be. It could be a maple sugar, a maple syrup, a maple butter, or even a maple taffy. The heating and cooling is also carefully controlled so that browning from the Maillard reaction can take place, which gives maple syrup its golden brown colour and rich, yummy caramel taste. Another useful tree sap that we can use is that from the Amazonian rubber tree, scientifically known as the Hevea braziliensis. This is a milky liquid that we also call latex. And while scientists don't really know why trees make this sticky sap, one theory is it can help the tree with wound healing by protecting the inner bark if it was cut from the outside. This sap is very special as it contains tiny particles of cis-polyisoprene, a carbon-based polymer that can be mixed with acid to create rubber crumbs that look a little bit like flakes of milk. This natural rubber can either be used as it is or go through a process called vulcanization, where it is heated, stretched, and rolled in the presence of sulfur. This creates a much more wear-resistant and stretchy rubber that can be used in car tires and, my favourite, elastic bands. Plants are everywhere around us. We rely on the strength of plants to keep our buildings standing and to keep us dry from the rain. They provide us and other animals with food and essential nutrients and vitamins. Plants are the backbone of our ecosystem, filling our atmosphere with oxygen essential to life and providing food and shelter for birds and animals across all climates and continents. New research is being done around plants all the time, and there's so much more to discover. Not just about plants that we already have, but also in how to help create plants that might have a better chance of surviving through our changing climate. Teachers and parents, don't forget to visit nanogirlslab.com, where we have downloadable content to help you continue on your science journey on the wonderful world of plants. Thanks for watching. If plants are primary producers, what's a secondary producer? What do plants do if they get hungry at night? What else does a plant get from soil, apart from water? Why do the leaves on some trees turn brown in the autumn? How much water does a massive tree need to drink every day to stay healthy? Do plants talk? How do carnivorous plants digest their food? Why do different flowers grow well in different types of soil? What is the oldest plant that's still living?